Today I actually have a early mobile phone, almost a car phone, and it kind of was a car phone, but basically the same design, early Uniden. When I looked these up online, they reckon they came out around 1988, which is possible. This is definitely more like a sort of early 90s one. It's a Sandtronic model CP2000. It's got the old telecom authorization number, although it's actually missing by the look of it. Made in Hong Kong by Uniden Corporation. I actually worked for a company in the early 90s that started selling mobile phones, which were basically car phones, and then they started selling some of this Uniden stuff, so they had selling what were branded as Ozcell mobile phones, which were actually made by NEC and just rebadged. And then yeah, the sales guy there decided to get into some of this Uniden stuff. Oops, should come off a bit easier than that. I've got to grab it the right way. Sticking a bit. There's a second hook there, and I seem to remember with the Uniden ones, they did make like the car phone, which is like a big box like this, metal box that went in the boot of the car, or wherever you can mount it, but usually in the boot of the car or the back wall of a ute or something. And of course you had a handset similar to this on a little cradle, sort of in the console between the seats or somewhere on the front dashboard somewhere. And they did make them so you could actually, what they called a bag phone, which is very similar to this, but it was actually like a leather bag, had a lead acid battery in it, and you basically, out of your car, you'd unplug this part, you'd take the box bit out of your boot. It normally have something like that, a 15 or bigger D connector on it, plus a power plug. You'd unplug that, and then you'd plug them all into your little bag, and you could carry it around with you. And then if you wanted to be using it in the car again, but of course you'd have a hands-free kit built in with a little speaker and microphone in the car and an external antenna. You'd basically, again, unplug your handset, plug it back into the cradle in the car, plug the box back into the boot. But this one's like a fully transportable brick-type telephone. Not quite as brick-shaped as the Motorola's and stuff. It's more a sort of flatter shape. And we've got some stuff on here about recall, unlock, that's right, you could lock them so other people couldn't use them. Signal strength, a lot of them just had the signal strength showing on it. You can, looks like, display your own mobile number, last call something, last number redial. Still got someone's phone number, 018 754 363, because they're all on 018 numbers. You used to basically install one, and then you'd fill out a form for mobile net, fax it through to telecom, and with an hour or two they'd basically operate the phone, because these have an electronic serial number in them, just analog of course, so anyone could listen in on these things who had a scanner or receiver of the right frequency. But basically these have an electronic serial number they send out to the nearest cell or whatever, and as long as that's logged into the system with an account, I guess they can send the bills to. And I think at the beginning, like the early 90s, you actually paid to receive a call as well, so it actually cost you money to pick up the phone and talk to someone, as well as make one. Here you got your send and end button, much like a modern mobile phone, so you'd enter your number and then press send. But yeah, you got an end button as well when you finish the call. That's about the only thing you'd have to touch in the car, the rest of it was hands-free. And they work pretty well, and these, I think this one's a 3 watts, so they're quite powerful transmitters. Your little handheld mobile phone's like under a watt, I think. Whereas this is a 3 watter. I know a friend had one for ages, a big Motorola brick phone, and that was a 5 watt transmitter in it. And the reason he kept it was because you could go pretty well anywhere miles away from the nearest cell tower and it would still work, whereas your little handheld ones wouldn't. So he used to get mocked a little bit for keeping his great big tall thing with a handset like this on top, one of the early Motorola ones. But that's why he kept it, and it did it because he did sort of installs the satellite gear and stuff out in the country areas, and he could actually get reception and receive calls and stuff, make calls where no one else could. So this has got some sort of connector there. I don't know if that's for power. And we've got a battery thing. I was hoping I've got a Panasonic video camera battery, but I thought these batteries are all pretty standard. They probably are in video cameras, but it does not go in there, so it's not the standard one. It shows plus and minus, so it can go in either way, much like this one. That doesn't fit. That connector might have been, I think this one they said did come with a cradle for car phone use, and it's got this bracket is supposedly for car phone use, so I guess you'd hang that somewhere and probably have a wiring harness wired into another cradle, and again you'd have to hang this, plug it into that, you'd assume plug it into power somewhere, or unless you wanted to use the battery. I don't know, this should have it. I wonder if it's got a T connector, TNC I should say. This antenna should come off usually, and you could plug it into a like a stick-on one on your back window or a roof mount. I'm not sure how that one comes off, if it comes off. And yeah, you'd unplug this handset, of course, take it in and sit it in your cradle in the front of the car. This is in fairly good condition still. This rubber piece is about to fall off. I probably should rip it off. Obviously made so you can... Why would you want that blocked off, I wonder? Maybe to stop... I reckon in car mode you'd normally block that off so no dirt or anything could fall in there. That would be the idea, I guess, if this is hanging. Yeah, because that's the top of it when it's mounted in the car, when you slide it up the screws there. So that would just be to stop dust and dirt and whatever getting in there. Looks like it originally had a strap on here as well. That's bent a bit, so that's gone missing. It would have had a shoulder strap, or at least has the option for one. And actually I know this antenna that unscrews here, of course, doesn't it? It is an actual TNC connector, which is basically a BNC with threaded, which I guess is a threaded NC connector instead of a bayonet N connector or whatever. I assume the difference is BNC is one's bayonet, one's threaded. But that was your standard car phone antenna connection. I actually installed God knows how many of them, a lot of them. Because once they came down to $2,000, which is what we were selling for, they were selling like hotcakes. And of course with the car phone you could also hook it up, had a relay so you could beep your horn as well. So they were real fun to install. And every vehicle was different pretty much, and could be quite difficult in some cars, plus you had all these extra things to wire up. We used to run the power wiring straight to the battery, and so you had to go through firewalls and up the pillar to put a microphone basically where the sun visor was. You'd have to fit a microphone somewhere on the front dash. You'd have to have the cradle either between the seats or on the front dash, and then down the back of the car you'd have the main box, so wiring down to that, plus from the main box up to the back window or the roof you'd have to run an antenna. So it's quite a bit of work, normally a 3 or 4 hour job to install one. I think the worst one I had was a Volvo or something that took 5 hours, but if you had a Ute you could probably do that in a couple of hours, because it was only everything mounted in the cab of the Ute basically, and usually they didn't have much in the way of linings and stuff to remove. But I guess it'd be interesting to look in this. It looks like the power connectors are right down the bottom there. I don't know what goes in there, if it's a power connector or something else. So I might actually pull this thing to bits a bit and have a look. Just out of interest, there's not normally much to see in them, I don't think. Just a very densely packed circuit board. I think mostly surface mount stuff even in these early ones. It'd have to be, I guess. But if I could actually get power into it and power it up would be nice, just to see if it does anything, because I have not seen one of these since yeah, probably, or really touched one since probably the mid-90s or something. I mean, I got my first phone around 95 I think, and that was a Motorola MicroTac. You know, there's a bit more, or at least in this part is more the power section, I guess, a power supply and transmitter section I'm guessing. We've got an EEPROM of some sort. Sanyo memory chip maybe, Sony chip, it looks like an Hitachi chip, so it's a very multi-corporation effort to build this thing. And a big Mitsubishi chip. Doesn't stop, everything's from a different company pretty much. And that looks like our antenna sort of, I don't know if that's an actual output transmitter, but it's some sort of coupler I guess, because you've got receive, one of these is receive, one is transmit I guess. Yes, it's a little bit more primitive than I expected in that part. And we've got a gasket here to keep it I guess mainly dust proof, but maybe a bit waterproof too, because if it's a mobile phone you're carrying around with you, of course you'd get caught in the rain and stuff occasionally. So it looks like we can unplug those two bits there. And we've got another set of screws. I can get to this battery terminal and work out which wires it is. I assume it's probably those three there. The red, orange and black has something to do with it. Is this going to undo the plastic top? Oh, we'll soon find out, I guess. But made out of genuine die-cast aluminium or zinc or something. Could even be zinc in these, they're quite heavy. Because, yeah, the transmitters, I guess, running at 3 watts would generate a bit of heat if it was used for a reasonable period. Assuming you had the money to pay for a reasonable period, because they certainly did add up the bills on these early ones. Unscrew and missed. And I did have a listen in using the old IFR communications tester receiver thing, and most mobile phone calls were just like, can you get some milk on the way home, and that sort of thing. Very boring and uninteresting, unfortunately. Like most scanners, you don't really get to hear much exciting, but this does not seem to want to come apart. I'm not sure if this is meant to undo this top cover, or I'll take that gasket out. What other screws we got? Any? I can't see a thing. How's this handle held on? Maybe this prizes out of that bit. Yeah, that's it. I sort of think the other bit comes off this bit, but I think this bit comes out of that bit. Kind of the same thing, but not really. Out you come. There we go. Didn't really get me very far, but at least, yeah, I can see some screws to... Oh, actually I have a plug on there too. Screws to dismantle the rest of this. Oh, actually one of those wires is soldered to the board, I think. Oh, it's an earth one. Under this earth screw. And yeah, at some stage these were getting silly prices on eBay, I think, because the friend that had that Motorola one, he used to do some mobile phone installation stuff, and we threw out a whole heap of old brick phones and stuff, and then not long after I noticed on eBay they were going for $200 or $300 each or something stupid. So I don't think any of them worked, the ones he had, but still, they might have suddenly become collectible. I don't know why people would really want to collect them, but I know shortly before we were selling them for $2,000 installed, I think they were going for $7,000 or something. We had one customer that had one of the older ones, which I can't remember the brand name of it. It was one of the very early car phones, and yeah, it was something like $7,000 to buy or something. But once they were down to $2,000, oh, it's another screw. I keep missing one each time. All the tradies started buying them when they were a couple of $1,000s, and couriers and all sorts of people. And yeah, it became a big business there for a short while of installing car phones. And then of course they eventually got small enough that you just had a handheld and you could get a car kit, but a lot of people didn't necessarily bother. Or you could get a sort of one of those plug-in DIY type ones, and that whole industry died off after only a few years. And there we have it. UH003 something on there. A couple of bits of metal. I guess it's that latch assembly. And this is the battery. Oh, that's the upper terminal. That's the lower one, I guess. Yeah, black and red wire. Do they go to that? Well, they probably do go to that connector by the look of it. Oh yeah. Oh, oh no. I thought the orange was joined to it. Oh, so this socket is a power socket by the look of it. So I've got black, on the outer goes to that end pin and goes around back to this earth wire. The other black, yeah, also joined to it from the battery. At least I can do the pin out of that, I guess. I wonder what the purple wire does. Then we've got a red wire, must be power. Goes to the middle pin. Is that the only one going to the middle pin? The other one is, so the external power goes to the middle pin. The internal battery goes to the end pin by the look of it. Well, I guess they're not going to hook them straight to each other. Black down this end. And we've got a purple wire goes to that middle connector there, which isn't connected on the bottom side of the board. And that goes into one of the connections. Yeah, copyright 1988 Uniden, it says. So that goes to one of the connections here, possibly the purple wire, I guess it comes across here, which, it goes to the handset. Yeah, another copyright 1988 Uniden. Oh, but it does go to this plug. I was going to say, wasn't there another plug here somewhere? That's it. So that probably sends some sort of signal. Don't know if that actually charged it as well. So when we look at the front here, we've got black on the top left, purple on the top right, where that little pin thing is, little key, so it can only go one way around, and positive must be the bottom one. Not that I could even find a plug for this thing, I guess. So now, do I have to plug it all together in pieces? Or should I solder some wires on or something? I might just solder some figure 8 cable on it, I think, and leave it hanging out the battery compartment. Might be the safest thing to do for now. Can I get that round? No easy way to get it in there is only hassle, but the other option is remove this socket. Oh, it's actually loose anyway. Because how do I get a wire? I don't really want to solder to the battery terminals. I want to leave it original if possible. And I think the way it fits together, yeah, you're not going to get the wires through there. I think the only hole we can really use is that plug hole. I wonder if, I don't have any little Molex pin type things they use for IC sockets or something you could push on. Those pins would be ideal. Just got to break through this green lacquer they put on it to stop it coming off. Only problem is, can I get this out of the hole with the short wires that's got on it? Probably not. That doesn't show any sign of coming loose. It should push out, which it sort of is. Yeah, I think you've got to unsolder it to even get it out. Or can I use that little slot there? That might be the go. But then I really need to, this nut and stuff's in the way, but if I leave them in there, they're going to short it out. Kind of catch 22 really. Well, that's that socket removed. Now I can't get the nut or not? Get on there. Guess that lacquer's probably making it hard to get it to bite. How does this... it's pushed in with a couple of little bits. I might even remove that. I think it's pretty well had its day. Now, these have got to go through the hole in the case. That doesn't want to go back together. There we go. I might just put one screw in. And a bit of metal came out of there. Don't know if it really matters at the moment, but where did that come from exactly? Don't know. It just fell out. Does that go in under there? That would be it, possibly. Nope. Oh, like that. That would be it. That was the sealed bit, went the other way. So we've got to screw that on. How did I get that off? There, there was a little metal thread here. And plug the connectors back in, which I think they're the wrong way around at the moment. How does that work? Oh yeah, that went under that one, and that went that way. No, went the other way, did it? Yep. And this can only go one way, I assume. Yep, pin's closest to one side. Can't see the other side now. That's it. Feels a little wobbly, but I think that's right. So let's come that way, I guess. Now, all bits were screwed here. Sure that's the right way around? Must be. I think the screws went through these couple at least. One's probably enough, but just to make it a bit more stable. And these plugged in there and there. I don't think I even need to screw that back together. I haven't put the seal in. Plug that in. I guess we'll see what happens when we stick 12 volts into this thing. Probably go a little bit higher, 13 volts or something. Since it's made to run off a car electrical system, and that's not stripped. And we get 0. Which is why we may need to hook this other thing up. Doesn't seem to do anything. I plugged in here. Interesting. Following up down, it should basically work, I would think, but I don't know if you have to take it off the hook or anything. Oh, power here. No, it doesn't seem to turn off, I don't think. Oh, God, that thing's awful. Well, not particularly exciting, but better block that off. Where's the volume on this thing? Yeah, they don't press. Oh, that's handy. Mute. Yeah, volume. So we've got a problem with the volume switches on this thing. Guess we could open that up and have a look. Oh, we just reset something. We've got a dicky connector, maybe. Turn that off. Probably want a smaller screwdriver. Try not to mark it, but usually there's a screw hiding under there, I think. Ooh. Glue does not want to come off on the edges. My God, what the... Oh, well, this doesn't look like it's ever been apart in its life. But it's basically probably a working unit, besides the volume button's not working. Ah, you know what they'll have? There's always a screw under here as well. Yeah, even under another little blanking plate thing, little cover. That's how they should come off. It's nice when they actually work the way they should. I don't think I ever repaired a mobile phone. That was one thing I never did. Normal corded phones, plenty, but when I last saw these things, they were still under warranty, so they just went back. I think Uniden did fail occasionally. They weren't as reliable as NEC ones, but I think they were generally pretty good. Uniden's normally a pretty good brand with their two-way radios and home security cameras and stuff. Well, there must be clips or something here. That's usually the way. I just don't want to break the thing trying to get it apart. And unfortunately it's going to have a few marks on it. Unless there's something under this display. Oh, I wonder. Surely they didn't put something under these as well. Well, it certainly feels like they have done. Sometimes you've got to peel all the sticky bits off, because that's the sort of thing they do. No, there's nothing under there. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure I really fancy trying to peel that off. It's not exactly mint condition, but there's got to be something secret going on here. Unless you're just breaking the damn thing or tearing the paint off it. All for nothing. It needs the dust cleaning out anyway, and it's a bit sun faded. What is going on here? There's got to be some clips or something, surely. I think that's just the display itself. Well, that's pretty dodgy. It doesn't move. Oh, maybe it does move sideways. Is it something crazy, or is it just a clip up that end? Oh, something just gave way. I think I just broke something as well. There is a seal in there by the look of it. I've broken a little bit of plastic or something, but at least I think we've got one of the clips free. Yeah, there's definitely clips there. This plastic's probably a lot stiffer than it used to be, and that's the problem. It's usually just a couple of little clips. I think we're going to have to bust them to get in there. See, there's the clips. Oh, they took a bit out there, and then it slides off there. So it was the bottom that had to... It's the usual kind of setup, but why they wouldn't move, it's actually broke off the little lips on this bottom bit. Does this unplug? It does unplug. Come on. Out you come. Let's get rid of that rubbish. Where are the buttons I want? The one there, they seem to be a bit melted or something. So what's holding this board in? Nothing. Oh, 2 more clips here. One there and one on that side, and then the top should slide back down. God, don't like it when you're messing with the... Yeah, so those buttons are alright. It's just these rubber bits, I think, on the outside. They use a lot of rubber stuff on this phone and it hasn't survived well. Looks like a Matsu Shida keypad. Bit of brown glue in there. 8845, might be the copyright 1988 Uniden again. But these buttons are well and truly shot, I think. Rubber's still soft. So the outer piece is just a bit of gooey muck, doesn't work at all. I think that's gone hard, the outside bit. Oh, it's actually pushed through it, so it's actually sealed into the case there. That would be the problem. No, there we go. Yeah, that's just swollen up and gone hard, and it's just disintegrating basically. I might put that rubber bit back in if I can. At least we've got something to press on the button then. Come here. Can I push that through from the outside? Might be the easier way. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, this other one's just gone hard. Maybe I should have just left them as they were, but it's completely useless like this when it comes to changing the volume of that internal speaker or anything. I can probably just poke those bits back on afterwards if I want to anyway. Yeah, that rubber's just rotted. And that's the sort of points that fail in this old electronics, just like a cassette player or something. It's the rubber bits that fail. So you might have a good phone, nice collector's phone or something, but you can't use all the functions on it because the rubber buttons are rotted out. I don't think I care about the mute button much, but that's just as bad. If I can get the volume to work, at least it'll be something. Well, at least those clips work the way they should. I think our rubber's gone sideways. Of course it has. Always something. I think the buttons have shoved it sideways. Yeah, they really have bottled it. See if I can get them. Probably should have tried to hold them out. Bit hard to do when everything's stuffed. Yeah, the button's definitely pushed down on the rubber. Oh, God. So what do I need to do? I need to push them right through, I guess. Make sure they're right sticking out. When I put this back in, of course they just, if I hold them up that way, that should do it. Yeah, that's the key. Okay. Now we got it. I can feel that pressing the switches. I mean, the screws will hold this back together, but yeah, it's just a bit annoying that those clips actually broke. What was the other piece that plugged in here? That. This is probably going hard as well. Yeah, amazing that little speaker there makes all that noise. When you press the buttons and stuff, it does go that way, I think. That is not easy to plug in. I probably should have plugged that in Well, I probably should have just left it in there, but plugged it into the board before it went back in the case. See, I think I'm going to plug this in with the board up a bit. Ah, it's just horrible. Go in there. Talk about fiddly. And we've got the little chamfered off bits on the top. Now I've got to try and get those buttons back. If I have the handset hanging down a bit. That's got it. And the cable's got to go in there somewhere. How does it naturally fit? Well, it has to go one of those two ways, so these little brass bits are captured in the, which it doesn't want to do. Let's go around that way then. That's it. So the strain relief actually is caught in there. Get that rubber seal in. So again, I've sealed it up nicely, and then we're going to put the top bit on. So the top was definitely never going to come open. Luckily I started at the bottom end then. If I broke those ones off, we'd be in trouble. Ah, now it's going off to one side again. Ah, now the seal's come out again. That's it. I think it's back together. Where's the screws? I can still get that display a bit of a clean. But it is kind of cool to be able to actually use the thing. I'll put that rougher one out of sight. So I don't think I need to go back in there. I'll put the good one where you see it. That all gets to hide under there. Maybe I should remove their phone number, but I don't think it really matters anymore. If you had an old phone book or something, you might be able to find it in there who it actually belonged to. But I don't think anyone really cares. They would have removed it themselves if they were worried. Okay, get all these bits of rubber out of the way. And we're still connected. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm doing something dodgy here. Something's dicky somewhere. Probably, oh, it's this connector. I can see the display coming and going a bit. Not happy. So it's got a few issues, I guess. Not surprising given the age of it. Bit of motorboating going on. Typical. Fix it and it won't work. Yeah, just notice there's a little lithium type battery in there, watch battery type thing of some sort, and I just measure and it's flat. Probably should be 3 volts. That's probably meant to store some of the memory or something. But one thing that occurred to me is the fact that I've got this where that earth wire goes loose and not screwed on this other half may have something to do with it, even though you'd hope the earth wires would connect everything that needs to be connected, but sometimes they do something weird and need the chassis connected, so I might put some screws in that and see if that makes this thing more reliable. But I think it did behave itself reasonably well when I first pulled it apart, so who knows. But now I'm going to put those screws, put a couple of these big ones in. Not sure it's going to make any difference, but it's worth a try. Why didn't that one want to go in? The seal hasn't moved, has it? So it's still hooked up there. Plug the handset back in. Can you hear that noise it was making before? It's just the power supply, I think. and it seems quite stable, so maybe that was it. It was acting very much like the cable was dodgy, but of course things were moving around elsewhere, so it might have just been the earthing. I guess this phone probably knows there are no base stations around. It probably does transmit something out looking for a cell tower. Must transmit something, and the fact it's got no service has got more to do with the fact it can't find a base station, unlike a modern phone which has its SIM card and stuff. But I guess even that maybe has to talk to a base station or something to find out it's an invalid SIM card. Not quite sure how it works now, but of course this thing just has to look for a station of some sort, or a cell of some sort, and if there's no tower talking on its frequency, it certainly knows it's out of the service area. Because I think, yeah, your modern phone will still have emergency calls or whatever activated, so it must still talk to the tower and find that there is one in the area, if there is one in the area. That screen cleaned up should look a little bit better. It does have a sort of, I don't know if that's a little, something's delaminating or something. I don't know if that's still sticky. It might be sticky enough to hold that in there. Still pretty scratched. And yeah, the LCD back, I don't know, it's probably the actual, not the back of the LCD, but the polarizer screen on the front of it has gone a bit bluish coloured. But yeah, I don't think the volume made any difference to these, did it? So they do make slightly different tones, even though they're nothing to do with actually dialing anything. Yeah, but it's sort of back to work. At least the buttons work on the side here, which I think is better than having them not doing anything. I probably could almost glue those bits back in, but I don't know if it's a good idea. No, that's just disintegrating. Yeah, just falling to pieces, so I think we'll throw that away. Oh, there goes the power. Or has we got back to our other fault? No, definitely the earth is gone. No, this dodgy clip lead doesn't help. Don't know if we can store one of them in memory, maybe. Last number redial, I guess we can do that. Recall 00, see how fast it goes. Now you don't hear a thing when it dials it. Interesting. Is that only going to clear? I guess if we hold it, yeah, that gets rid of everything. You never quite lose the knack of using these things, even when you haven't used them for a long time, I guess. But we used to have one in the company vehicle, one of the ones we installed, but that was the Ozcell, not one of these Unidens, I don't think. And yeah, would have used it a bit, so you kind of get used to the old things and how they operate. But anyway, that's sort of had a look inside the thing. Needs a bit more of a clean up. It's got like spider poo all over it or something. Usually what those white dots are, it's been in someone's shed or something. Not surprisingly, it still basically works. Now that makes a constant sort of hissing sound, which is a bit of a worry. I don't know if that's maybe because it's got no service or something, don't know, but that's, you can hear like a background sort of, like a noisy amplifier sort of hissy sound. So I'm not sure why that does that, or whether that's a fault or something, but probably this thing would still work if you could actually find somewhere to use it with a cell tower. But yeah, been an interesting little thing to look at. It's kind of cool to play with one again after so long. I never thought I'd really touch one of these again, certainly one that's powered up and doing anything. So yeah, been a bit of an interesting one. Thanks for watching.